Hello everybody, welcome back to CKA LAB. In today's lab, what we're going to do is the following. Let's open the file. So we're going to first run an NGINX pod. We're going to get the IP, and we're going to run another pod, something which I chose from online because it has the tools that we need to do the lab, which is wget and NC and whatnot. Then we're going to shell into that pod, the bastion pod, and from that pod, we're going to test and see if we can get to the NGINX pod's port 80. And then we're going to do the same thing on a different namespace and see if that works. So basically, we're running a test. If you can get to the NGINX pod from the same namespace and a different namespace, that's what we're going to do. So first step is we're going to run the NGINX pod. Okay, run NGINX. Image is NGINX. I don't think I need anything else. Okay, get pod. And it's running, and it did not crash. All right. The next step is to create another pod. Actually, let's get the IP address. Okay, get pod. There's OY to get the IP address. This is the IP address. We need to put that in the clipboard because we'll need that later. Now we're going to do, we're going to run a different pod as the bastion host in the same namespace. So k get, no, not k get, k run. Let's give it the name bastion. The image is going to be binlabs / bastion. It's pretty good for testing stuff. I think that should do it. Let's see if that actually worked. Continue creating. I messed up the name. All right, let's. It should be in my history because I've done it before. Good. Bastion. No S. All right, so let's try that. Yeah, okay. I need to delete the pod that even though it crashed, it still exists. So okay, delete pod bastion. And now we run it again, and this time it should work. Okay, get pod. And it's running. Okay, now we need to SSH into the box. So I don't want to memorize that in doing the test. We can use Kubernetes documentation websites. We're going to use that. So let's just say shell. And it should give me the right command that I need. This is the command that I need. And all I have to do is change the name of the pod. And by the way, it doesn't have bash, so I have to use shell, just normal shell to get it to get there. And the name of the pod is bastion. Okay, now I'm inside the container of the bastion host pod. All right. So let's see if we have all the tools. We have wget, we have nc. I don't know if we have telnet. No, I don't need that anyway. All right. So what we need to do is grab the IP address of the NGINX pod, which is this. And we're going to do NC. It's the tool, free tool for checking ports on a different server. So we're going to do NC minus VZ, V for verbal, Z for closing the connection, I think. Command V and 80. It's open, so that means we could get from this pod to the NGINX pod on port 80. That works. So now I'm going to get out of this pod, and I'm going to run this, creating different namespace. Okay, create namespace B. Invalid. Okay, doesn't like that. Okay, let's just say B. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to run the same pod on a different namespace. And yep, and minus. Let's do. I think I can just add namespace B. Okay. Now if I do k get pod minus nb, I should see it running. All right, it's running. So now I'm going to shell into that pod, the new one in a different namespace. All right. And this time we're going to say minus nb. So that way I'm getting into the pod that I just created, not the one that I created earlier. All right, so now I'm on that pod. Now I'm going to run the same command as I ran before and see if that works. And I can get there. So let me get out of this and explain to you what's going on here, right? So let's look at the file again. So what we did, we created the same bastion host pod on two different namespaces. The one that's common to the default namespace, and in fact we should do that. We should do kget pod. So in the default namespace, we have the NGINX pod running, which has port 80 open, and we have a bastion host in that namespace, and we could get from the bastion host to port 80 on the NGINX, but we also have in a different namespace a different bastion host, and that bastion host could also get to the port 80 of NGINX. So the point is, namespace by default does not block traffic. You can get to one pod in one namespace and a second and another pod in a different namespace. It's not prohibited. So what I'm going to do next is, in a different video, I'm going to do a network policy lab where I'm going to have a network policy that blocks traffic to a particular namespace altogether. And then you will see that when I try this from a different namespace, it will not work. All right. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.